Good?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we'd like to call the meeting to order, and we are asking for the approval of the December 2022 minutes that were sent out. If anybody has any comments, any changes? All right, do I have, got
I second.
Bill? All right. Got the second, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Was that Ann or Elizabeth?
And
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and I don't see any public up there. Do you, Chance? Okay, as far as public comments, there's none requested or at this time. And what we would like to do is get on to the new business, which is the fiscal year 2024 MSD budget. And Christine, I think you've got a presentation.
yes, try and make it brief. Everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
So I just wanted to quickly overview our the updates for the programs and then get into our budget proposals for the next fiscal year. We can move to the next portion of the PDF.
You might have control on the mouse there if you roll.
I do.
There you go.
Okay. So just some highlights. We have executed a 5-year contract with Block by Block to help support our 5-year MSD contract with the city. We have a fully staffed MSD ambassadors program with tenured employees. We have furthered relationships with all stakeholders in the downtown community. We have had a successful completion of our 1-year pilot MSD street outreach program with more than 5,200 interactions with the homeless community over the past 12 months. We've been tackling issues with homeless encampments and conducting cleanup operations at our main encampment sites. And we have issued a new off-season hour schedule for our ambassadors program, as well as a hotspot deployment that was established this month. So the current programming is $562,692 total for this fiscal year's budget. Having trouble with this mouse. This mouse is not working.
There we go.
For the facade improvement grant program, we had allocated $25,000 for this fiscal year. So far, well, at the time that I made this presentation, we had awarded $23,000 that are either earmarked for or have issued funds for. These are the businesses that we have issued funding to or have earmarked funding for. And today, we actually had approved our final facade improvement grant to Underfront, which is a new business that's coming up on Front Street. It's a cocktail bar establishment. So we will have a total of 6 businesses that have or property owners that have been awarded grants for improvements to facades across the district. And these are kind of spread evenly throughout our business, our MSD. So we're really excited for that.
I'm sorry. I am seeing Dylan Lee's chat on Zoom. Is anyone else seeing that?
Yes, that's all I see.
That's all I see.
Well,
Sorry to interrupt, but we're not seeing what you're talking about.
Okay. Do I need to go back up?
Let's see.
Well, the right screen needs to be shared.
is he managing it?
We have a chat with Dylan on the Zoom screen, not that for the folks zooming in at home. One sec, Ron. And everyone else. So you're not seeing the facade improvement grant on the screen?
No,
Did it change? You guys saw it at first, right?
for a half a second.
There it is.
Just a half a second, yeah.
We can't see.
Now we can't see it.
All right, I've got it now.
You still
It's
have
pretty
it?
small. Can we blow it up?
Oops, there it went away.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Maybe go back and share it. Can you guys see it again?
Yes.
Yes.
tremendous investment on your grant awards.
Whoa.
Oh, gosh.
All right, what's that? Sorry.
Can you send it to me and I can, okay.
Section 10, proxy attendance.
Whoa.
It's happening elsewhere.
Never seen those.
I agree.
Yeah, you guys can see it, right?
Please freeze it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right, I take back over. All right, so here are all of the grant awards for this fiscal year. Minus the 7th, which we approved today, which is the Underfront location. It's the spot of the former Fire Bellies, Dead Crow Comedy Room, and 910 Local, which shut down amid the North Front Street construction project. So we are really proud to support a significant amount of investments with this program. And this figure will be updated once I calculate the investment that's being made by Underfront. Here are statistics for the MSD program from January 1 to December 6 of last year. As you can see, we're increasing pretty much in almost every category. Hospitality contacts were down this past year simply because of the flurry of activity that happened over 2021. Panhandling, we're happy to see those numbers decrease. And as far as the aggressive panhandling is concerned, we've done, I'm not quite sure why pressure washing was down quite yet. I need to speak to James about that, but still a significant amount of linear feet pressure washed throughout the district. And we are happy too that skateboard violations are down as Here are the statistics for Jack for the entirety of the program up to December 6th. Our panhandling, transient, unhoused. If you could see the number of emergency services call outreach referrals are pretty significant, and social services outreach referrals were also pretty significant this year. This is what the job was designed to do is to refer homeless folks to social services in our community. So we are very proud that we had over 1,000 of those this past year.
Mhm.
This year, we've been placing a special focus on cleaning up areas where there have been a high density of unhoused populations taking shelter in the district. Those two main areas were the library block and the 3rd Street Bridge. We did 2 encampments, cleanups at the library block and 3 at the 3rd Street Bridge. Just the MSD teams alone accumulated 85 bags of trash and 50 hypodermic needles from the 3rd Street Bridge site. WD also led organized cleaning efforts with NCDOT, with assistance with WPD and volunteers from our social services organizations and the faith-based communities, and together 8,300 pounds of trash per NCDOT's landfill tickets were picked up. So this is just skimming the top of what we've been able to accomplish this year through the MSD program. Our MSD teams are hard at work, but we feel that we can do more to provide even greater service to our community. The set of budget proposals that I'm about to show you are focusing on our MSD ambassadors and our street outreach program to improve the quality of pay for our contracted employees and hopefully better retention for our program, maintaining our quality employees that we have today. Without our team, the work in the MSD cannot be accomplished. So going through in budget proposal A, this assumes the pay raises for our MSD street outreach coordinator and our MSD operations manager, 3% pay increases in the program budget for all MSD employees. This will assume, with the assumed pay raises, we'll have to reduce the ambassador hours from 144 hours per week to 134.25 hours per week. And this is the 50-50 split. All MSD ambassadors are trained in both clean and safe. So we're including that in the totality of the ambassadors program this year. So whatever we have now for the MSD ambassadors at 32.6% is split two ways between clean and safe. The physical appearance line item, we will keep $2,000 in the physical appearance line item and keep the $25,000 in the facade improvement grant program. In marketing, we have eliminated the WDI website fee since that website is now fully developed. We'll have a minimal marketing fee at just over $30. We'll keep we're keeping the 15% WDI overhead fee, the $3,000 for the vision platform, and the WDI personnel at 50%. Proposal A is all that I just mentioned for both the ambassadors program and the physical appearance line item. Eliminating the WDI website fee. The marketing fee would be close to $200. And we would be reducing the WDI personnel to 30% in order to maintain the 144 hours per week for the ambassadors program. Any questions about that budget proposal? A1 so far? Yes, ma'am.
Quick question. Physical appearance, you said $2,000?
Yes, $2,000 for physical appearance. And previously we had it in broken out in landscaping, holiday decorations, alleyway activation and weather events. I am just including that in a lump sum of overall physical appearance to be used as we see fit within the MSD. So whether it's improving the flower beds or improving, I've heard folks mention there needs to be more soil put into some of the tree wells, and whatever beautification and landscaping projects or otherwise will be included with this physical appearance line item.
Last question. So is $2,000 for, in my mind, flower baskets? Is that on par with past investment in the flowers, which look so nice? Or is that a reduction?
We had voted, or you all had voted last year to not pursue the hanging baskets program last fiscal year. So that was $10,000 for that.
Thank you for that reminder.
And it was taking away 65 ambassador hours a week to water those hanging baskets. And you know, they are beautiful, but and we could include it again if you guys feel it fit this year, but that was a decision made last fiscal year by this committee.
Went from, for my records, it $9,000 plus the man hours it was taking, down to $4,000 with this current budget. And then recently, with the budget adjustment to add to the salaries, I think was taken down from 4,000 to 2,000. That's what I have in my records.
Did we replace that truck and we're holding on to it, or did we get rid of the watering truck?
No, we still have that. We're using it as for our pressure washer for doing large pressure washing projects. And that's what the watering tank is mainly used for at this time. But the MSD truck, if you remember, we have contracted with Block by Block to provide us a truck, and WDI sold its old truck.
That's right.
I just remember when the MSD was contemplated in the early days, it was for flowers. But it's just a shift. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I think the comment we received during some budget discussion last year was from the committee was it was a big resource drain. And I think the committee felt that they could get more bang for their buck elsewhere, I think is the comment that I had remembered. So I think that's kind of why we dropped the numbers a little bit. And then as a recent, they got shifted for the salary increases. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Christina, we still have those baskets in a good chunk of those baskets in inventory.
Yes.
And a smaller modified program where they probably maybe have more impact, could still be utilized.
Yeah. We have saved those baskets and they're in storage with the city still. And we did not remove the hanging apparatuses that go on the poles. So everything's still there in case this committee wishes to reactivate that program.
What kind of public comment was made on the hanging baskets? Was this something that people appreciated, ignored?
In my short tenure here, I haven't received any comments about the aesthetics or appearance of the baskets.
I think when they were there, people saw them, and
They were probably my assumption.
my major recollection of them was dripping water after they were watered.
Yeah, I don't know if, you guys received any positive, negative along the way.
We'll see this year, because this will be the first year that the moon
Mhm.
baskets won't go up.
But plus the baskets were just potato vines. They were not colorful. I mean, they were nice, but they blended with the trees. You just, if there were,
Of course,
we
now
were,
there's no trees.
yeah.
Smaller trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Chris. My feeling is that we're made a major initiative on trees. And I think people do comment on the trees favorably. And I do recall when the committee decided to pull funds away from the hanging baskets. And I think, based on, I'm sorry, I wasn't in the December report, but the meeting. But I'm glad to see the, active installation of those trees on Front Street.
Mhm.
Christina, my only comment on physical appearance is we were pretty lucky because of weather this past year. What's going to happen if we have bad weather with the current budget?
As far as winter or,
Just basically housekeeping, cleanup, storm cleanup, things of that nature. $2,000 isn't going to go very far.
City should. be
Yeah,
doing
the
most of
city
cleanup.
covers that.
The city covers it? That's the answer to my question. Thank you.
the ambassadors do a high focus on cleanliness throughout the MSD after storms. And we have quite a bit of salt to salt the streets if we should have another ice storm this year.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chris, I believe, I'll reiterate Christina, I think last winter when we had some icy weather come through January of 22, there was like a pallet of ice melt or a good chunk of ice melt bought, and we didn't use it beyond that and haven't used it this year. So from what I understand, it's a pretty good inventory of ice melt. And then per my understanding, historically, any kind of hurricane cleanup, a majority of that is still going to be the ambassador man hours. I think if we need anything beyond those ambassador man hours for cleanup, then we can always go back to council for one-time use of a purchase of whatever might be needed at that time. So.
Yeah, I agree. I remember that one of the reductions done on physical appearance was to help increase the support of the facade project, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, thank you.
A good question though, Chris. Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, moving on to proposal B. This is an increase, $580,000. This assumes the current pay raises for our street outreach coordinator and our operations manager, 3% pay increases overall throughout the program, increase in hourly wage for our MSD team lead to have him at $17.50 per hour. And the 3% increase would not include our MSD team lead, since he is would get a pay raise with this budget as is. $2,000 in the physical appearance line item, $25,000 in facade improvement grant program. Again, eliminating the WDI website fee, marketing fee set at a little, nearly $45. Keeping the 15% WDI overhead fee, the vision platform, $3,000, and keeping the WDI personnel at 50%. Budget proposal C is what Chance calls our pie in the sky proposal. We could ask for anything and everything. This would be it. This again assumes the pay raises for our street outreach coordinator and operations manager, the 3% increases across the program, minus our team lead, which this also assumes our team leader pay raise. This is all at increasing our ambassador hours. So this would be implementing a one full-time equivalent ambassador, increasing our hours to 184 hours per week, adding a physical appearance line item of $4,000, keeping the facade improvement grant program at 25,000, issuing a marketing fee at close to $395, 15% WDI overhead fee, vision platform at $3,000, and WDI personnel at 50%. Any questions about this?
I guess these are all outflows, Christina. The inflows obviously comes primarily from MSD tax. And are we going to get an update on that side of the equation of inflows? We talked historic in the past about some of the brownfields coming into effect in terms of how it generates revenue for the MSD. At a certain point, are we going to see the inflow side or the revenue side?
Chris, Chance here. Want to recap. I don't know if you were at last week's or last month's meeting.
No, I wasn't.
It's a great question. So what I wanted to do, or what I tasked Christina and WDI with, was the exact same process that the city divisions are tasked with. We start with a baseline budget of current year and work off that baseline first and shift money around. And
Right.
then we go to package requests, package A, package B, package C, and so on. The challenge, why I wanted Christina to do that way, number one, that's how the city works its internal processes. So the budget office wants to see it that way, and I think it's helpful for them.
Sure.
But I wanted it that way as well, so that we had plans in place or ideas in place in case we end up with more money, more funding this year, or we end up with less funding, or need to justify why we might need more funding, where we didn't really have any ideas last year with the WPD change. The challenge that the budget office has is they don't start getting their final state and local tax numbers until early to mid-February,
Okay.
sometimes later. So we don't know what that final in on the funding is going to be. And that's the challenge. So we kind of have to work backwards. Let's project it from a base side of things don't change, and then have some ask in there in case we do get more money and need to kind of tweak things down the line. But yeah, those final numbers usually start coming in late January, early February, sometimes later. So we don't have that number from the budget office yet.
Okay, thank you. I think the thing is, from what I see is A and B are relatively very closely in the ballpark. The proposal C is really going to largely depend more on revenue side, won't it?
So we won't lock down one or the other. We're just going to leave it flexible based on the actual revenues.
Yeah, the idea today was to present a baseline budget with some changes,
Mhm.
base shifts, as Christina did, and I think in proposal A and A1, and then have a B proposal with subtle increase and a C proposal with a much larger increase. And the idea here too was just to give some options for the committee to analyze, think about, talk to the respective stakeholders. And then we come back in February, hopefully with some funding amounts. If not some funding amounts, then at least hopefully an action item of, hey, committee is in support of, A, B, and C pending those final inflows of funding.
Yeah, thanks, Chance. It's understandable. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
As well as
Yeah, I think
Christina.
the challenge last year was, the council allocated, I think, $180,000 to the 2 WPD officers downtown. I had that number exactly right. But then, if I recall, the committee really, had some concerns and challenges with that. But at the same time, I don't know that there were any alternatives recommended from the committee of use of those funds. So I think part of this year was, hey, if for some reason council does shift funding again and the number's lower, then, we've got options and can help justify the why of the funding is needed. And if we lose funding, then, this is what's going to happen kind of thing.
Right.
And really what I hope to provide to you all today is just an overall framework of this. This is what we can work off of, and this is what, this is what it's going to cost to do these things. Now, if there's other things that this committee would like to focus on, we can go back to the drawing board and figure out the figures and the numbers, and I'm most certainly willing to do that. But this, again, this is just a baseline, and I welcome further discussion on, either increasing funding for physical appearance or shifting funds around to somewhere else, or adding something different. And this is all just a framework for you all.
One question, say if I'm looking at proposal C, and in February, we're notified by the assessor's office that we should anticipate 700,000. The additional funds beyond proposal C goes into the overflow MSD account. Is that correct? Okay.
If the funding inflows come in at 700,000 for the professional contract side of what WDI does for the city, in addition to what's allocated to the WPD salaries, and the budget proposal and recommendation from the committee is 647, then yes, that extra 53,000 would be put in as probably a budget reserve. And then if it wasn't spent, it would just roll right back into the MSD fund balance for future use.
Yeah, I think that's one thing the property owners have wanted clarification on, that it doesn't get melded into the city fund.
And I think I reported out on a figure last month. I don't know if I have it with me. It's 500,000+ in the current MSD fund balance right now. It's unallocated and unspent. That's basically savings that weren't spent from funding from the previous 5 years. And I think
Does that
per,
really exist somewhere? Or is
Yeah.
that on paper?
no, it's in a separate fund, so it's there. I think per my understanding, the only thing the committee is voted to utilize those funds for in the past were, number one, the tree wells, 100,000. The fund balance went toward the 187 tree wells. And I think Hurricane Florence period, 50 or 60,000 came out for additional ambassador hours for storm cleanup over the course of 3 to 4 weeks.
Is it being invested in anything?
I
Did,
believe
like,
it collects
learn-
interest. Yeah,
Okay,
I believe it. There's an interest that comes in annually on it.
okay.
Chance, I don't know if this is City of Wilmington or MSD or a combination of the two. But let's say if we did get a windfall, we talked in some about the caretaking of the alleyways and the side streets. Because I think the city has made, and MSD has made a lot of progress, whether it's Riverwalk, Water Street, 3rd Street, probably needs a little more on 2nd Street. But, what kind of, is there an opportunity there if there's some inflow to be able to push more aggressively on some of the alleyways and side streets? And I don't
Yeah,
know. if
absolutely,
Fair
Chris.
City of Wilmington.
Yeah, I think the idea for the alleyway projects out there, I think we just need to put some steps in place to progress some of that. I'd be happy to bring an alley update to everyone next week or next month if that's helpful. I do know that 3 of our alleys are earmarked with a partnership between CFUA and the city of Wilmington on just some baseline, repairs. I don't have those alleys in front of me. But yeah, that's obviously something we could use a fund balance on moving forward.
We had a discussion previously about the alleyway, and I don't know if everybody's aware, the alley that was enhanced to the right of Platypus and Gnome was, the portion adjacent to the building was paid for by James Goodnight. And I just shot them a message to ask if they could throw us some kind of a number. And Brian said he's going back to the drawing board, but his response is, I will see what I can turn up. And yes, James paid out of pocket to clean up the alleyway beside P&G from the street to the back of the building. I do know getting the power company to do their part, clean up lines, make more presentable connections was a B with a blank, blank, blank behind it. Working with the city and getting their approval to slope the alleyway for better drainage wasn't nearly as taxing as working with the power company.
Yes, the city and CPA came in on that project as well and put that new line, sloped the drain, and then also connected that CPA line across the Second Street Lake Flynn parking lot there as well. And moving forward to Bill, or Chris, I forget who asked, but yeah, that could be one-time fund balance uses for alleyway activation as well. I would recommend that the city side really take the brunt of civil work and repairs and engineering. And then any use of MSD funds come back in for some, beautification would be my.
Right.
Who's paying for fixing up Bijou Park?
That was all city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope they got something from the original contract.
Not sure.
Okay. Did we, is,
Yeah, do you want to go through some of
Yes,
the
I
fun
can
times?
go through the rest of the presentation. So again, this was at $647,000. The main bump for this was bringing in that one full-time equivalent ambassador to the program, which is the increase that you'd see right here in green. Other things to consider for the proposal, adding to the facade improvement grant program, looking at adding a golf court or another small vehicle to the ambassadors program, including additional funding for larger landscaping projects, alleyway activation projects, holiday decorations, projects for one-time funding allocations, and other line item needs as the committee sees necessary. Here's a list of special project proposals for one-time funding. As you guys know, the informational plaques along the Riverwalk are sun faded and worn. We could look into replacing those. Looking at the Riverwalk again for electrical and light improvements. Replacing the anchor chains on the black lids for the trash can bins, the brick ones. Installing flashing crosswalk lights at Bladen and Hornet Streets along North 3rd Street, mulching flower beds at Front and 3rd Street, repainting warm parking space meters and crosswalks, tree canopy improvements along Market Street, Water Street, and 2nd Streets, creating an alleyway maintenance program, electrical box mural projects, funding and supporting something like that throughout the district, and additional tree row improvements. And that's all. Just want to thank you guys for your support, and I'm happy to discuss any of this further if you'd like.
Your vote there?
No.
best
definitely not my
chances.
vote.
Thank you, Christina. Very good.
So at this time, I would like to, and Madam Vice Chair, if we could open discussion on the various project proposals first, and or not project proposals, but budget proposals, to see where this committee would like to see either funding increased or decreased, or just commentary on the different line items. And then following that, any highlighted special projects for one-time funding that we could possibly look into to see how much those items would cost to do.
So do we need to make a recommendation whether we feel proposal A versus A1 for the bases? Does it, we'd like your, you're the one that understands where the dollars are best spent if the money's in an equal bucket there.
Right, and this is what WDI would recommend as far as the various proposals. So any additional comments be made, well, I'm happy to take them, but this is kind of what we're looking at for the various proposals that we would like to submit to the city.
The idea, Terry, is to just kind of have this as phase one. So beyond commentary, I don't think we need official action from the group right now. I think it's something for you guys to take home and chew on and kind of come back with more questions and maybe hopefully an official support of, budget A, B, and C pending where those inflows of funds land.
As Chris says, though, without knowing what the how much the funding available will be.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I suspect most of us would be interested in the proposal C if we can afford it. Extra ambassador is never gonna hurt.
Yeah, I mean, we can see where we're at come February the 18th or whenever that third Thursday is next month. And if we have a version one of funds and come back with hey, funding is 582,000 that could be dedicated to the professional services contract. So committee, here's our recommendation.
Christina and Chance, I applaud you for the work that has been done to get us to this point. If this is something where we have to eventually pass it over to the city and the budget office, and we basically agree with the emphasis of where we're focusing all the different segments of the MSD budget, I would propose we go to the budget office with C and fight for the money. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, that's certainly something the committee could take action on. I think you'd then have to work backwards if the funding levels only end up at base or less.
See, my logic, chances is if you go short, it might be an uphill battle with the city and the budget office. If you go big, yeah, you might have to back down, but you're going to be backing down maybe possibly to a better place.
Yeah, I think the thing is,
Chris.
Chris, it'll end up being a static number.
Mhm.
It'll be a static number that is assumed to be split between the professional services contract of WDI and then the WPD allocation for those two man hours
Right.
downtown that were approved last year. So it's not like there's any general fund money coming. It's a static number based on the final tax that comes from the MSD tax and the sales tax and miscellaneous revenues that are allocated into the MSD.
How strongly did we support the two additional police?
It wasn't supported by the
support.
committee last year.
So this is purely the council that did that. You feel they're gonna do it again this year?
I would recommend that we come in, just like I said, with a baseline.
Not offering it, but is that what you mean?
I would recommend we come in with a baseline of what was allocated to the professional services contract last year to WDI. Which-
Including the two.
No, that was
No, that-
562,000. All in last year, there was $781,306 that came into the MSD
Mhm.
fund as an operating fund. 562,692 of that was allocated to WDI's professional service contract.
Mhm.
The rest of that was WPD, 2 officers, and the miscellaneous expenses that came along with that, as well as a $25,000 budget reserve. Or $29,000 budget reserve. I think, knowing the commentary and the presentations were given to council last year and council's formal adoption of those changes with WPD into the MSD budget here, it's my recommendation that we assume that that's gonna stay.
How do the members of the Metropolitan Service District feel about having to pay to police officers? I mean, is this something that's supported by most of our people in this area?
I don't know the answer to that.
I think the general feeling is we support the increase in the Wilmington Police Department presence. We just felt that it was normally the Wilmington Police Department budget falls within the confines of the city of Wilmington.
I agree.
And this was the first exception to that rule. But as an MSD member, I'm fully supportive of an increase in police presence in the MSD.
Have we actually seen an increase, or is that on paper?
There's two.
Two.
Yeah, there's two officers. One of the officers was in the meeting. Officer Ole was present in the December meeting. I
Mhm.
believe the second officer had a conflict last month, but yes, as of July 1st, there were 2 additional officers downtown being funded with that MSD fund.
And I do remember when we were going through this last year, I think they had like 40 open positions outside of the task force, but I've been told those have been filled now. And that's why downtown, we recognize our task force because even we know most of the guys are on the horses and up and down the street,
Mhm.
but Castle Street, we don't know any of them anymore. There's so many new policemen on the force, so I don't know if it's completely full, but we've been told a lot of those positions. Even though that was the discussion last year where there's this bucket of money that's not being spent because we don't have those employees taking the paycheck. But this year I understand they're getting there if they're not already.
Right. If I can interject real quick, we actually had 15 just get released. They're on their own. We have 18 that are going to be in field training in the next 2 weeks. So it's normally a 16-week process to get them cut loose. So by summertime, we should have another 16 additional officers on the street as well. So in the past 6 months, I would say we've probably, it'll be 35, 40 officers in a 6-month range that have been cut loose on their own, correct? And I did have Officer Jacobs, which is the second MSD officer here today. Sorry, I'm speaking out of turn. But we just had a call where a 1-year-old was choking and he had to run out to that real quick.
Mhm.
So.
Thank you for
That
that
is-
input.
Yeah, welcome news. Thank you.
Mhm.
And Bill, what I would say is if the committee would like to propose an alternative use for the $184,156 that was allocated to the WPD side salaries this year, then I think that's up to the committee. So.
I guess I'd like to hear the city council support their reasoning for using our funds for hiring additional police. I assume there's
Yeah.
some theory that there is some process they've gone through to decide they can't afford to do it with normal city funds, that they need to go to our funds to do that.
Yeah, there was presentation last year to the committee, as well as a presentation by the city manager to council at its budget retreat right before
Right.
Memorial Day. I'd be happy to send out, the minutes again to the group on the city manager's justification, as well as link to the budget presentation to where you can hear council's feedback on that.
Are they looking at other funding sources to provide additional police in the city? Or are we the only? I guess what I'm asking is what funding sources are used to fund the police? They have obviously a budget line item, which is the Wilmington Police.
Yeah, I
And
don't
then
know.
there's 2 policemen that are supported by our budget. Are there any other budgets that are supporting
I don't-
additional service?
I don't know the answer to that. If I recall, Lieutenant Nichols, correct me if I'm wrong, I think WPD added 6 to 8 new officers downtown last year, and 2 of those 8 were funded by the MSD. If my
Correct.
memory serves
Yes,
me correct.
yes, sir.
So there was additional 8 officers put into the downtown MSD district this year. And out of those 8 new positions or new reassignments, 2 of those were funded by the MSD.
And I remember a discussion too, with additional officers obviously were needed, especially with the concert series and everything going on at the north end. And when we talked about the taxes collected, we're not going to see the additional taxes there for another 3 or 4 years because of the brownfields credits.
Mhm.
So we're actually having to pay out money to patrol that area that we're not collecting yet from the property owners. Does that make sense? Well, all of those,
What property owners?
all of those in the remediated areas, the brownfield area, so Pier 33, Sawmill, all of those get a 5-year carved back on their property
They're in the
taxes.
3rd or 4th year now.
Well, so one is
Who?
Sawmill. The rest of
We're
it,
replacing, we're the newest and we're in a 3rd.
yeah, with most of the Pier 33, they're year 1. The apartment building, yeah, they've got 5 years to, and it's a gradual increase each year.
I'm familiar with the
Yeah.
process, but
No, we haven't seen the money yet.
anyway. Is the income from that venue supporting any police?
Know that answer. Is Live Nation,
No, it's a publicly owned,
They charge.
So-
They have income.
So Lieutenant, correct me if I'm wrong. Outside of the venue, there are no police public dollars going to service the Live Nation events. The police that are servicing Live Nation events are paid for directly by Live Nation on overtime for inside the venue, correct?
Correct. And we only have 4 that's inside the venue. They supply their own security inside.
So that's separate of public tax dollars. That's the overtime unit being paid directly by the private concert promoter.
Correct. It's an outside contract paid by them. Correct.
What about police outside the venue?
Yeah.
Caused by the venue.
I mean, it'd just be downtown.
Mhm.
I think we're kind of going around.
Parking's a whole
Yeah,
separate.
I think we kind of go around in circles. My closing statement is the following. I agree, like when the city manager proposed that the fact that whatever allocation of police force goes to the MSD, they stay in the MSD was part of the deal, as I recall. And I think that's happening. And I also think, Chance, you're right. The chances of getting this amount of money off of our MSD and back to its normal, should have been its normal place, is probably not going to happen. I did talk to one of the city officials, and it didn't seem to have much interest in trying to reallocate it back to the city.
I can understand that. from their point of view.
Yeah. On the flip side, we're over 500,000 in the slush fund. So I think I even said when city manager and the chief of police show up at a meeting and present to us, it's pretty much it's a done deal.
Yeah,
So-
there's over 500,000 in the fund balance that can be used for one-time uses. I think it's I'm sure there's restrictions on there. The one of them being just can't be utilized for salaries unless there's an ongoing funding source of salaries, which we got into a couple meetings ago. But one-time uses, there's over $500,000 in that fund balance currently.
Right. And that might be something we want to look at post-budget. once we have all the facts are known. I still see there's a lot of opportunities downtown on side streets and alleyways, as well as continuation of the good work done by the Street Ambassadors Program, as well as the outreach program.
We also briefly discussed it, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, CVB. Good number of people, Carl Marshburns, the business owners along the Riverwalk are asking for additional attention to the Riverwalk. And ultimately, the ultimate goal would be to light the Riverwalk up, similar to the 3rd Street Bridge. That being our biggest, really one of our biggest tourist destinations downtown. We seem to be really good at focusing on the new part of the Riverwalk, but we're not paying enough attention to repairs and maintenance on the Market Street side south. It's pretty worn. And from a lighting standpoint, I talked to Chance about it. There's electrical lines on that side of the Riverwalk that at high tide, they're underwater.
Right.
So one of the things we've got to do is have an engineering report on what would need to be done to bring the electrical on the Riverwalk up to good standards. I wouldn't say current code, but functional standards, because there's nowhere to plug anything in up on that end of the river. There is on from Ballast to the north, and that's all up to current guidelines. But the CVB has been pushing for this for a while. Downtown Business Alliance, the merchants want the Riverwalk paid attention to and enhanced because, well, we used to be #1 Riverwalk. I think right now we're ranked #7, but it's not a matter of build it and not maintain it. We've got to take care of it.
Totally agree.
Christina, do you have anything else?
No, that's all for the presentation.
So we'll come back to the committee next month. What we'll do is we can summarize what Christina put together, some bullet points, send it out to committee so you can kind of see the comparisons of A through A1 through C. And we'll see where we are with the funds that are coming in come, 3rd Thursday of February. And take it from there.
Okay, next we have reports, and we can't see on the screen right now. We're going to start with Wilmington Police. Who's on the screen?
It's Lieutenant Nichols.
Hey, Lieutenant Nichols, thank
Hey.
you. The floor is yours.
Sorry, I didn't know you couldn't see me. Like I said, I had Officer Jacobs here today with me, but he had to run out to a call. He's our 2nd MSD. Last month we had and they basically flip-flop them. One's on, the other one's off, and that's how they flip. So we always have one during the daytime down here that kind of roams around and just answers the calls for service and mingles around the downtown MSD district, as well as a sergeant that we also have down here now during the daytime. The only thing I really have to add this month is Tuesday, we went out to the 3rd Street Bridge with DOT and the outreach teams. They placed 8 or 10 signs up there, basically giving a warning to the unsheltered out there for 2 weeks that they're trespassed starting February 1st. According to DOT, we actually have a name that's willing to go to court and have these guys give us the ability to enforce. So we plan on going out there probably again Monday. I'm gonna get up with Jack and see if we can't go out there and just somewhat hold a meeting with these guys and say, hey, we don't want to come out and look like the bad guys, but next Monday, you got a week left. You're gonna have to go per general statute. And we'll start citing. And if it gets down to it, we will be able to take them to jail. So like I said, that starts on the 1st, and that should be pretty interesting. We had a couple down there Tuesday when we went that spoke to us. They're aware that they have to go. They don't know where they're going to end up. So they'll probably just get dispersed throughout the downtown community, unfortunately, whether that's at the library or in these alleyways or parking decks, but we'll have to address that obviously when it happens. So if you see them, please call us so we can address that. and address it quickly and appropriately so we can deal with it and see what we can do to reach out to these teams and get the proper resources for them to be housed or moved or helped with whatever needs that they have.
Okay, Christina, anything else from WDI outside of budget?
I can add a few more things if that's all right. Y'all haven't heard enough from me today. I just want to give an update. I met with the website developer that will produce the online map component for the Bring It Downtown campaign. It should take about 9 weeks, maybe more, to develop this online platform with a focus on the parking decks to come online. We're going to host it on WDI's website with hopes that the city and county will share as well. This will also have an interactive component with it too, with a Google API map, which would be a map that you could go to your smart device and will help project a street view and a walking path on the street. So looking forward to development of that. If anybody would like to see what this is modeled after, you can go to downtownhouston.org/map. And we are kind of using that as a model for the Wilmington map. Graffiti removal was down by 53% in December. Handbill removals dropped by 29%. We did help train through Block by Block, the City and County Getting Home pilot program. And we continue to see a great partnership with the 4 social workers and police officers that are paired with them. We conducted the last cleanup in January under the 3rd Street Bridge. That was 33 bags of trash and 28 used needles. Another thing that I would like to report about our MSD street outreach program, when Trinity United opened up their warming shelter, Jack and some of the members of our MSD team transported members of the homeless to that shelter. And we saw a conservative estimate between 85% and 90% of the unhoused population downtown utilizing that shelter, which is a significant figure and could potentially have saved some few lives. So the warming shelter is a great resource that has come online. It started last year and is continuing this year for our unhoused population and escaping the cold elements. And then lastly, our MSD team conducted a special project at the intersection of Davis and 3rd Streets. They literally unearthed a portion of the sidewalk, which was covered in grass and dirt. And so now that walking path is walkable now, and it's a little more clean and tidy there. Thank you.
Chance, we have an update from the city.
Lightning round from the city. Front Street 300 block just opened up yesterday, after being down since October, I think. So both those blocks are both open back up. There are still a few remaining punch list items that will be happening on both blocks. I think some items such as an electrical box still is on back order, and a few other small things, but for the most part, the brunt of that project is complete. You should see parking meters going back on those 2 blocks in the next probably 2 to 3 weeks. Bijou Park opened back up. City's Park and Rec team has gone back through and cleaned up a lot of the vandal acts that happened over the last couple of weeks. But the Bijou Park is 100% open now and lit. And the Second Street parking deck rehab project continues and should be hopefully finished in the next 60 to 90 days. Big city items, that's probably it.
Awesome. I don't see any other news. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, how about a second?
I second it, Christopher.
Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yay.
What's happening with the?
Bye, everyone.
Bye.